Hey guys, welcome to another episode. I'm Robert,
And I'm Olivia.
and we're gonna talk about Cuba.
The most historic event so far in Cuba's history. 62 years, if I'm correct, there has not been an uprising this mass in scale.
Oh yeah, it's been like a while.
And so we're just going to talk about what's going on. We're going to talk about what Biden's been saying and his administration, Ron DeSantis, all these good little deets.
Yeah, we're gonna go over a few different things. So why don't you get started, Olivia?
Let's talk about the government in Cuba. What is Cuba's government? It's a communistic government. It's communism. It is the pure textbook form of communism. And I think it's funny, I will point this out, that we have Americans who are in support of Cuba gaining freedom from communism and socialism. They're like, yeah, pro-Cuba, they need to be free, freedom. Yeah, which I am all for. But yet, at the same time, while we're here at home, they're like, we need more socialism. We need more communism.
Yeah, there's definitely
It's hypocritical, but I support.
the ideology is definitely being trickled in and instilled. I mean, it's so prevalent today. You know what I mean?
So one of the things that they've been doing regarding these protests is that the government in Cuba has shut off all communications whatsoever. So this is to block reporters from being able to report what's really going on. And it also is blocking citizens from being able to post on social media what is going on. Because, again, the government in Cuba is trying to control the narrative. So, Robert, have you, I know you've been looking into this a little bit. I have too. But aren't they like saying it was U.S. revolutionaries or whatever that were causing the uprising in Cuba? They're blaming it on the U.S. basically.
I
right?
didn't hear anything about that. I heard, obviously, so they're doing hundreds of arrests now, and they're shooting the protesters now. They've opened fire. Like, it's
one person so far has been reported dead, and it was a protester that was shot by the Black Berets or one of the state police officers there. That's the Black Berets are the state.
They're the death squad. They come get you.
Basically. And
there was hundreds of arrests. So if there's hundreds of arrests, there's thousands of people, right?
This is the uprising. It's not just like one part of Cuba and a city just, saying F you to the government. No, it's the entire country. And it's an island, so it's a little bit smaller.
Yeah, they're starving, they're dying. That's just proof right there that communism doesn't work.
Or socialism. Or
Marxism.
Now, I want to say something. I did research a little bit about Marxism real quick. What we're seeing in America and what we're seeing in Cuba is not traditional Marxism. Oh, wait, actually, that would be traditional Marxism in Cuba. In America, what we're starting to see is not traditional Marxism. We're starting to see neo-Marxism.
It's just a slippery slope, bro.
Yeah, pretty much.
It hasn't worked. Oh, look at China. China's doing great, and they don't have rights, and they love it.
So
Russia, if you're disabled, you can't even get around. They don't have disability ramps and stuff like that.
Walk on that one leg. No, but anyway, so the first thing we've covered, what is the government in Cuba? Communism, communistic dictatorship. So let's, we started touching on a little bit about the narrative being falsified. It's not just being falsified by the Cuban government or the Cuban reporters. It's also being falsified by American mainstream media.
Oh yeah, not surprising at all.
They were saying that these uprisings are because of the lack of COVID vaccines or the restrictions being placed on there. What are those called? Sanctions.
It's just an objective reality that's trying to be created because they're trying to keep everybody divided. They're trying to divide everything.
Well, also they're trying. You know what I also think they're trying to do? I think they're trying to not allow Americans to really see what communism looks like, because a lot of what's going on over there is starting to happen here on a very small scale in America.
Yeah, I saw a great comment while I was looking at some videos. Someone said they don't want people escaping communism to come over here because they won't vote for communism.
Mm-hmm. And even in Florida, there's a mass population of Cuban Americans, and they're in protesting and supportive protesting of what's going on in Cuba. And again, it's just, I've never seen something like this. And you can't say that this happened just because of COVID vaccines or that this happened just because of sanctions put on Cuba by the United States.
They want freedom.
In 62 years, you're going to have your entire country uprise against your corrupt regime just because of COVID vaccines not being available? No.
And what's also awesome is that they have American flags, you know? Like, America is still the symbol of freedom and liberty, you know? As long as there is tyranny, there will always be people willing to fight or flee for that freedom.
Yes, and that should just slap every one of you in the face. Yes, I'm talking to everyone, liberals, Democrats, you conservatives out there. This should slap you in the face and get you to wake up to realize the privilege that you have. All you Black Lives Matter protesters, I understand your cause in the beginning was for rights and you were angry, but at the same time, the oppression that you feel like, and I want you to hone in on this keyword, that you feel like you're under oppression. You don't know true oppression. I want you to research Cuba and I want you to research everything that's going on there right now because that's true oppression.
Oh, yeah.
So,
now, another thing as well is obviously they turn the internet off. You know, the narrative is important, right? So we have all this censorship, going on right now. They are truly like I was said earlier, they are truly creating an objective reality. And because everything has become so polarized opposites now. We literally have people like me and Olivia feel very passionate about this. Obviously, we're a little right leaning, right? But there are people on the other side, complete opposite, that feel just as strong and passionate, and that is it's furthering the divide, especially thanks to media, to Twitter, to all these big
Facebook,
tech monopolies
YouTube,
that are just controlling information. It's so blatantly obvious. And it's crazy when I talk to people like my peers around me, you know, that, you know, normally don't, you know.
They're not very political or outspoken.
Yeah, and like it almost blows my mind when I'm talking to people and they haven't heard of like critical race theory or the Texas Democrats feeling like, you know, average regular people, they don't have time or they have the leisure to just not pay attention to these things, but things have been getting so much worse. Like, it is just so important that we tell as many people, we started this show, I can't sit back and do nothing, you know?
True, and that's why we started this show together.
For real, we have to we really have to all do something.
Talking to you guys. And so that is why these false narratives are so easily believed is exactly because of what Robert just said. People are lazy-minded and they don't want to do the research. They don't want to take time out of their day. They want to consume at the most convenience for them.
But everything's becoming hyper-politicized now. You know what they say, politics is down the stream from culture. That's why they trickle it in, right? They trickle it in ever so slightly. And it's all these little shifts, right? You don't make big changes. You just slowly but surely start changing things. Mm-hmm. And the masses, they just go with it. So it's human nature.
So to ride in on that point with you, why are all of our generation, I like to call y'all dumbasses, why are y'all advocating for more socialism? Because once socialism sets in, communism starts to set in. Because once you give the government a little bit of leeway, they take a whole inch. They take a whole foot. You give them an inch, they take a foot. You give them, I'm not really good at measurements, but you know what I mean. You get the gist. But
yeah, you're not in the club, guys. You want to be communist, and so you're not in the special club. You are the exact people that would be oppressed. You know,
and you'll be regretting it.
Especially, a lot of these people that say they're communists and stuff, you would especially be oppressed, bro.
And then they try to tell you, oh, but that's not real socialism. That's not real communism.
We'll do better, obviously, because it's done better in the past, obviously.
Yeah, I find it hilarious. Like everybody in at least like the LGBT community that professes their love for communism, and I'm just like, try and be LGBT in a communist country and
Like
tell me
Cuba.
tell me how
You
that
literally
goes
can't.
for you. Yeah, you can't. They'll kill you.
Wasn't there a country that just recently banned LGBTQ in their country? What country was that?
I heard that China was
that's China.
deplatforming
LGBTQ.
LGBT people
Yeah,
or groups
on
like
like
their chat
yeah, on
service.
WeChat.
Yeah.
They're banning all LGBT stuff.
There you go, people. Like you want to
Communism at its most inclusive.
You're exactly. Oh yeah, socialism is inclusive, my friends. No, see, China just got done just deplatforming all LGBTQ people and gay people and everybody else underneath this umbrella. They're like, no, that's what communism is, and that is what socialism looks like, and that's what communism looks like.
Oh yeah, because I mean, like, think about it like this too. You know, like, just because we do something doesn't mean China and Russia is gonna do something in response. You know, like just because we wanna make a new Green Deal, right? And we want all our energy to be clean. Russia's not gonna do that. China's not gonna do that, and we're actually doing pretty good on emissions. Like if you look at the statistics, all right, we're not like China, bro. That you breathe the air there and you get lung cancer.
We have the smallest
gas masks. People in China, literally, they buy canned air from from other countries. I kid you not. This is like $1 million industry.
That's insane.
They sell fresh air to
Dude, that's
Chinese
legitimately like the Lorax. What the hell?
Oh my god, no.
Yeah, I saw it on they have like this rapper who reviews like expensive things, right? And on like one episode it's like, we sell air and they pay top price, they pay top coin for this air, you know?
So we kind of covered a little bit about censorship and how big tech is playing a huge role in this. And, you know, it's funny because I listen to Facebook, Twitter, Google, all these big CEOs of these companies. They do these little conferences where they talk about how they want to be a platform of free speech and stuff like that. And they're saying all this while they're censoring people like me.
It's just gobbledygook. Who's the Twitter CEO?
Jack
Dorsey. Oh my God, just
They're
so
all bad.
blatantly obvious, but yet they'll still lie to your face. There's a Joe Rogan episode where Joe Rogan is next to Tim Pool, which he's a very popular independent news journalist. He's one of my favorite. And he's right there across the table from CEO Jack Dorsey and some other representative or secretary or whatever. And it's just so, they lie straight to your face, right? Just straight to your face now.
The best liars will lie right in front of you. They don't even have to work hard to hide it. So one of the other things I want to talk about is I want to talk about a little bit about what the Black Berets are. And because there was an article that I read, I don't remember what the article is, but it will be posted down below in the description. It was reading about how Cuba was now going to deploy, or already has, because this was a few days ago that I read this.
Because they had them on deck. They're just waiting.
It's the state police. And they are agents, basically. They're the communistic agents that come in and they're dispersing people from protesting and gathering.
They come in, they get young boys, they drag them out of their houses because there's a mandatory military service requirement.
And I heard that from one of my Cuban drivers. I was taking an Uber to work one day, and this guy was from Cuba, and he has family in Cuba. And I was talking to him, and hopefully we'll be able to interview him one day if he is interested. But that'll be at a later time. But he told me that he has a brother who is in the military in Cuba, and his brother he's in a squad or a department of the military where they go and get young boys from their homes. They rip them out, literally, and force them to serve however many years in the Cuban army, in the Cuban military, the corrupt.
Yeah, and then another thing, it's like...
How would you feel if your government did that to you here in America?
Oh, yeah. Another thing is they're incentivized to join the military as well because they're giving you food. You're not getting that as often on your own.
Yeah. And it's I cannot tell you how scary it is to see some of communism and socialism trickling into America. And I really believe Cuba is a wake-up call for us. It is a wake-up call for people of all backgrounds, of all nationalities, of all religions in America who are living here, who want to chant America is racist, that America is oppressive, that America doesn't represent your freedoms and your rights, or as Gwen Berry says, they don't represent my people. Check yourself. Really check yourself and study history. That's the only place you'll find truth is in history.
And it's already repeating itself. It's honestly, it feels like the fall of Rome sometimes, which I hate. I hate because I don't, not like it. I hate that because it's like, obviously we know what happened to Rome, right? But it's like America is like, if without America, like there's no freedom, there's no liberty.
There's nowhere else to go after America goes. After America collapses, there's no other free place to go.
And they're trying to destroy us. How do you take down a country whose population is mostly armed? They're in the most geographic. They're in the best, one of the best geographic locations on the planet. How do you take them out, right? When they have all this freedom and liberty, right? You do it from the inside. You take away their guns. You make them scared. You make them think that they don't need these things, right?
You're brainwashing. You brainwash constantly by institutions such as our schools, our companies and stuff like that. Is all brainwashing. And there was a lady on Fox News who was from communist China and grew up under General Mao. And she even said that what she's seeing happening in our schools is exactly the same thing that they did in China in their schools and all their institutions.
Oh, yeah, and the parents are livid, you know? Oh my gosh, Imagine you go to, you don't go to the parent-teacher conference. You don't go there very often, right? But you decide to go to this one, right? And what are they teaching you these kids? You would be appalled at the things that they are teaching these kids. They are teaching kids about.
It's bad.
It is so ridiculous.
And that is another discussion that I will hopefully be able to do with all of us about critical race theory, because it's very important that we talk about it.
Yeah, that needs its own video. Because it's just inherently racist.
So let's talk about the great governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about what he's trying to do for the Cuban
I don't know
people.
how he's going to do this.
So basically what he's trying to do is that because of Cuba shutting down all internet to anybody in Cuba, not being able to have any communication.
Yeah, they switch it off.
They did all of it.
They don't want them to be able to communicate.
Incognito, basically. Ron DeSantis is trying to figure out a way, and he publicly stated this I guess he was in a news conference or whatever, and he was stating that he was trying to figure out a way to provide internet access to the Cuban people without their government interfering. And one of the things that he mentioned was using satellites. We have Starlink. Starlink was used, I'm assuming is supposed to be used to broaden the internet broadband so that people can have more access to it. So that was one of his ideas. He doesn't know for sure what he's going to do or what ideas, but he's pushing the initiative to get people in Cuba internet access to be able to start communicating with the outside world about what's really going on over there.
Yeah, maybe
it's a shame it has to come from just a single state governor instead of
Absolutely.
like the president of the country that stands for freedom and liberty. But our president is just a shill at this point. He doesn't stand for any American values.
Well, no, he does not. Oh, don't even get me started.
If America still had its balls, we would take Cuba and that'd be American soil. That's what it would, because communism can't be allowed to exist.
Well, I didn't know
this.
I didn't know this, but apparently before Cuba was taken over and was turned communist, it was like the vacation place to go for Northern Americans. I didn't know this. I heard a story. I believe this was on either Joe Rogan or Tim Pool, one of their recent podcasts. People used to work in New York, take a train down to Florida, and then take a ferry from Florida to Havana and go and have fun with the nightlife in Havana, which is all done and dead ever since it's been taken over.
Yeah, that was before Castro, no?
Yeah.
Oh, that was
what
before
year could that have been?
A long time ago.
Time.
Before the 65 years. So this is the 20s.
Before I was born. But yeah, that's so important to realize.
Before your grandparents were born.
Oh, yeah, that's...
Wow.
Literally 100 years ago.
Wow, I cannot imagine.
And
what
they're so
Cuba-
close. They're just like right near Florida, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like
They're, like,
90 to 90
practically-
to 100 miles away from Florida.
It's
really.
crazy.
So I honestly, Ron DeSantis, you are such a hero. And the very fact that Biden's not doing anything, he sends his condolences. He's like, we support the Cuban people. That's all he said. What are you going to do about helping them, Biden?
Yeah,
Like,
you know what's ironic? The what was it? The National Security Secretary. He is a Cuban, and you go back, you look at the 2020, but when he was up for nomination for his chair, right? He's saying like, oh, how he's proud of his heritage, and he's proud of who he is and his family, and he fled from Cuba, from communism. He even points out from communism, right? And what does he say? Just like Kamala Harris, don't come. Don't come.
it's such hypocrisy. I mean, okay, so this is how stupid it is. And I want y'all to really get a really good grip on this. It was not that long ago that even before Biden became president, he was in support of illegal immigration. Let's open the borders to Mexico. Let all of them come in. Come. When I'm president, I will gain you freedom. I will give you freedom and you can come into our country. He said that. Literally, he was advocating it. So did Kamala Harris. But now, after we've had this border crisis on the Texas side, we have another crisis happening over in Cuba, and the same administration that said pro open borders, pro illegal immigration, let's go, now are telling the Cubans, if you try to come over here illegally, we will arrest you and we will send you back to Cuba. The difference is, and I think you brought this point up not too long ago, like an earlier conversation, that the reason why they want illegal immigrants from Mexico to come in is because they will vote for Democrat, they will vote for socialism, they will vote for communism, because Mexico is not nearly as communistic as Cuba. I don't even know what their government is like. I don't even think it's communism, but I could be wrong. It's not nearly as bad as Cuba, though. They will vote for Biden, Democrats, and all these other corrupt stuff. If you bring over illegal Cubans and you allow them to seek refugee status, you know who they're going to vote for? They're going to vote for people like Trump. They're going to vote for people like Greg Abbott, even though he's a little bit, I'm not going to speak much.
They want to create a new class of citizen in America. Like they wanted to just let's just make all the illegal immigrants in America citizens. They would love that at the polls,
votes.
right?
It's to get the votes. And the Democrats will lose every election year if we had more Cubans who lived in communism and socialism, and they come over here and they are like, oh my God, this is freedom. This is what it's really like. We're never going to vote and make that same mistake again. That will crush the Democratic Party, unfortunately, to a degree, to a very deep degree. I mean, it wouldn't be obliterated completely, but it would be not the norm anymore. It would be more conservatism, all this stuff. And that's why they don't want Cubans coming over here, because they know, because most of the population in Florida, there's a good population in Florida who are Cubans, and they vote Republican all the time. And then you got black people over in Florida, and they always vote Democrat. So they know. If they allow Cubans over here during this time of crisis, which I would be in support of 100%, this is the only time that I would actually be okay with illegal immigration to a point, meaning
It's legitimate asylum seeking.
It's legitimate
that's what I mean.
tyranny.
Not illegal immigration, but seeking asylum. They're literally turning away people who would be refugees. He absolutely, this Biden administration executive, whatever his name was, he actually said refugees. Refugees from Cuba, if you come over here illegally, we will turn you away.
It's communist oppression right at our doorstep, and they won't do it. They don't want to do anything.
It's hypocritical, and it's demoralizing, and it makes me ashamed of the government 100%. And I don't care about what everybody else says. I'm open. He's open. Jonathan, our producer, is open. Like, we know what's going on. We see it. And a lot of Americans do.
Back to that objective reality, right? Like, things have become so polarized, right? Like, it's... They say one, like, at this point, you can quite literally, they say one thing, it's the other thing completely, right?
Yes. And so another thing that I was reading. And I'm going to read a direct quote from my notes here in a few seconds. But basically, there is some controversy around Ron DeSantis's anti-riot bill. So there are some people in Florida who are saying, well, it's hypocritical. It's am I saying the word? Hypocritical. Okay. I'm dyslexic. No, but they're saying his
that
bill,
they're like harsh or whatever, right?
No, it's like so they're saying that he put in the anti-riot bill to stop Black Lives Matter protests in Florida, but most of the protests in Florida were peaceful. Now, I agree with this. Well, I mean, some were peaceful. I mean, the protests that were peaceful before the rioting started, they were considered peaceful.
I thought you were referencing, I think he made it to where it's like,
it's anti-rioting.
You don't get in trouble if you run through the crowd, right? And they're in the streets,
no,
in the highway.
That's part of it, but the other part was...
That's what really got people's jimmies rustled.
But what I'm saying is that his bill is anti-rioting. So it made anybody who looted, who burned buildings, who blocked traffic, and put...
So it was an anti-protester bill.
That's basically what they're saying. But protesting is different from rioting, people. You need to get this through your head. So, but the other guy that was saying that Ron DeSantis' bill is hypocritical is because most of the protests were peaceful in Florida, which is true. I never heard a story coming out of Florida where people were burning up buildings and killing people.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But so he's saying it's hypocritical because now they're allowing Cuban protests to take place in Florida and they're blocking traffic, but they're not rioting. They're not burning down buildings. And Ron DeSantis is in support of it. And so I think his name was Fentress Driscoll, if I'm saying his name right. I will probably have Jonathan actually type out his name in the video in this part because I don't know how to say his name. He's a Democrat in Florida. And he was basically calling out the bill, saying that it's hypocritical because you can't say to say that what's happening right now is not the same as Black Lives Matter is fictional. It is different than what was happening from Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, you know what? It's like this. The people in Cuba, they are
truly oppressed.
They are literally, truly oppressed. Like, it's common sense. All right. BLM is a Marxist organization that's just trying to get political power. They don't care about you, right? They'll put as many freaking George Floyd monuments up to keep y'all satiated, essentially. But you're literally just like lapdogs. You're literally just sheep to them, right?
I mean,
and then while you have people that actually need help, that deserve freedom and liberty.
They've been under oppression.
It's not rocket science.
For 62 years. So to that state representative in Florida that was saying that you can't say that what's happening now is different from what Black Lives Matter was. It is absolutely different because the Cuban protests are based on real issues. The Cubans have been oppressed for 62 years and longer. Their whole country has been oppressed. It's not just a race of people being oppressed. It is a whole country of citizens being oppressed by a government. That is what they're fighting against. That is what they're standing up against. Okay? That is what's different between Black Lives Matter and Cuba protests. They're literally, the whole country is being oppressed and they're fighting for their freedoms. They're fighting for basic human rights. What Black Lives Matter was doing was arguing and bickering about civil rights. That's what y'all need to understand. There is a difference between civil rights and human rights. Human rights are the rights that you have that are unalienable because you're born human. Civil rights are rights that you have that are granted to you by government and legislation and that have been litigated to be fair to everybody. That's the difference, okay? So Black Lives Matter was protesting civil rights and saying that they were oppressed and that America's racist and everything else. And the Cuban protests that Americans are starting to support in, they're fighting for their lives, literally. So that is what is different. And I want to read you a quote from this state representative. State Representative Fentress Driscoll. And I quote, "Last year, when the Black Lives Matter protesters and protests were mostly peaceful in Florida, our governor of Florida thought there needed to be this law to keep protesters in line. So let me just address this first part of his quote. Basically, what he's saying is that Ron DeSantis wanted to keep the protesters in line. Well, when he created the anti-riot bill, what he was doing was that he was seeing what was happening in other states where the rioting was actually happening, the burning of buildings, looting, killing people, all this stuff. He didn't want it to happen in Florida because so far Florida was doing fine. You know, there were no major riots and burning of buildings or anything like that.
It's also a precaution as well.
Exactly. It
'Cause
was
it's
a
like
preventive measure.
you have to put stuff. You can't just wait for stuff to happen. You know, like that's kind of what's been like literally up until recently. Like
Right.
we've just it's all these. This has just been allowed to continue and grow and grow and grow. And now that we've after what's the word
Help us.
what's one scam election later, right now we're trying to fix things.
One example of like communism in this country. Like one little like
Well, let's
scare
be careful.
of it.
YouTube will take our video down if we say anything regarding that. So be
Yeah, so we'll just move on.
2020.
It's censorship.
Okay, so I'm going to finish his quote from Fentress Driscoll. Driscoll. Oh my God. He continues to say, it's clearly hypocritical because the First Amendment gives us the right to free speech and assembly. Its content is neutral. It doesn't matter what it is you're protesting. So let me address this last part of his quote. He's right about one thing. The First Amendment is content neutral. It does not tell you what you can and cannot protest. However, it does tell you in which manner you are to protest. It says to peacefully assemble.
Yeah, remember
The
Cuomo saying, where in the Constitution does it say that protests have to be peaceful?
the First Amendment, you goon. Oh.
You got to read it.
Okay, and at the very end of his quote, he said, "It's to pretend that what's happening now is different than Black Lives Matter protest is a fiction." And as we said just a few minutes ago, it is different because Cubans are protesting for their lives, literally, and for their human rights.
Like Hong Kong.
Oh God.
Yeah, talk about another place we abandoned.
It's Hong
completely.
Kong is in China, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, and I've seen pictures of people.
the only free
Oh
place
yeah,
in
Hong
China.
Kong what was it, 2K20, right?
Yeah, they're supposed to be like a independent state separate from
Free
China,
Hong Kong,
but
free Hong Kong.
but
That's why the
Chinese
conflict-
police are like slowly
Time
trying
to-
to take them over, just like China is wanting to take back Taiwan.
Yes.
Yeah, man. China wants the world, bro. They'll do anything they can.
So does the communistic regime in Cuba.
Just think about that.
So
as you know, they wokeify the military, and they
Oh.
pussify our nation essentially.
basically. So that quote that I just read to you was from Fentress Driscoll. Again, we'll have like a little pop-up box right here that has the name spelled correctly because I'm probably saying it wrong. Basically, I just debunked what you were saying, my friend over there, state representative. I just debunked what you said. If you actually read the Constitution, you would have not said what you said. If you actually are paying attention to what's happening in Cuba and what happened in Black Lives Matter protests, then you would realize that what Black Lives Matter was protesting was civil rights, which they have a right to protest against, but is not the same as human rights. Human rights are the rights that we are all born with. Doesn't matter what skin color you are, doesn't matter what gender you identify as or anything. And they're basically fighting for basic human rights over in Cuba. And that's why this is so important. And also, I encourage all you parents out there, make sure that your children know about what happened in Cuba in 2021.
Yeah, you oh my gosh, I end up having real talks with my own sister. It's like you have to be the one to teach your kids, right? Like I was talking to she was like maybe 9 or 10. I was talking about World War II, when China and like, you know, she's got like the world map in her room, you know, it's like, bro, you're not gonna believe this. In 1945, bro, like what Germany did, you know what they did. You know, it's like it's so crazy that you wouldn't even believe it, right? But yet here we are, history repeating itself.
And the only thing that's really stopping America from falling is the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I guarantee you, they have tried. American government has tried so hard to subvert the American Constitution, but it's because we're armed, and that's why they're afraid to do
scared.
anything. So that's why you need to support your Second Amendment rights, even if you're gay, even if you're transgender, even if you're Black Lives Matter, even if you're Mexican, Cuban, Iranian, Muslim, Christian, whatever it is that you're here in America. Your freedoms that you have, if you don't support the Second Amendment, they're going to be gone. We're going to end up like Cuba. We're going to end up like Venezuela. We're going to end up like Nicaragua. We're going to end up like North Korea. We're going to end up like China. I guarantee you, America, you need to get out of the mindset that this can never happen in America, because that's just not true. Anything can happen because humans are inherently evil. Anything can happen. And just because we're in America, it would be a lot harder to do this in America, but it can happen.
But they're still trying.
And it can still happen if we let our guard down. So I really believe that Cuba is a wake-up call to Americans to pay attention to what's going on in our own country. 2, this is historical, and I'm so glad to be doing this show with the 3 of you guys, because the 2 of you guys, sorry, I'm the 3rd one, but because this is such a historical moment for Cuba, and we are literally people like me, people like Robert, people like Jonathan, people like Tim Pool, Joe Rogan, you know, all these, you know, not mainstream reporters and journalists. We are now considered the new history books. Because we are reporting.
Because they're trying to change the history.
They're trying to change the history.
Teach kids that the country is racist, you know?
And that some certain things didn't take place, but that's another discussion. But we are the history books. You, America, all you folks out there, all you patriots, all you conservatives, liberals even, I want to include everybody. Liberals, Democrats, the ones who are starting.
We're all on the same team.
Yes, this is our home. We have to
pitted against each other.
We can't be pitted against each other, or we won't be able to keep history straight. Like we won't be able to keep the government from interfering and rewriting history. So, Cuba, the rising of 2021, we are here reporting on it, and hopefully Ron DeSantis does some stuff. Hopefully Joe Biden actually grows a pair and tries to help the Cuban people in a meaningful and productive way. I honestly think we should send the military over there to protect the.
Yeah, if this was 1945 America,
I honestly think we should.
Like I said, you know.
I know, but I know a lot of people
soil.
don't. I know a lot of people don't agree with the military industrial complex or whatever. I know that a lot of people don't agree with that, and that they're you know, that's a different discussion I don't really know much about. But I really do that. I do believe that this is when America needs to step in.
Yeah. We can't. Corruption is the true evil.
Like, I believe that we should go over there, take out the corrupted government, and give the Cuban people another opportunity to vote in someone that does care about them.
And not just over there, but over here.
Absolutely.
There's still hope. Like we need to put people who care in the positions of power where people that don't care about us
On
are.
a last note, that is why local elections are more important than national elections. That's what a lot of people don't tend to focus on. So focus on your local communities, your local representatives, your congressmen, congresswomen, all these people that are local politicians. Those are the people you need to vote for, because the Constitution gives each state their own power. So if you want to keep your state well, and you want to keep your state free, vote for the people who will do that. Stay informed.
Stay informed, y'all. So
Cuba, just a personal message from us here at the Populist Corner. Anybody from Cuba, if you're able to watch this video, I want you to know that we love you. We're praying for you. We are praying that you are liberated, and be strong. Be fierce. Be unapologetic. And remember, this is the Revolutionary War for you and your independence.
we support you.
We support you and we love you, Cuba. So that is it for our show tonight. If you would like to talk to us in the comments, please do. Any Cubans out there who are living in America, we would love to hear from you in our comments down below
Yes,
as well.
please let us know what you think, y'all.
Yeah. So thank you for listening and have a great night. And God bless America and Cuba. God bless Cuba too.